Yeah, so I and then just like traveling around. Don't get your tea, so it's kind of like, do you want it in the
I do. What do you say?
I don't think we need to do it. Oh. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Test.
Caleb, everything for sauce? These two like
I don't know. You think we're split up? You think this one's two?
I think just these two.
He said these two were adults.
Yeah. I guess
You're saying these two are taken.
Is this taken?
No, it's still there.
I think these two are safe.
At some point, I'm gonna head out. At some point, I'm gonna head out.
I think I know that one. Yeah. I do both. I mean, I just love it. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very true. When you go there,
Okay. USB, do you need to charge it? Yeah, I have one. Here, just use mine. My laptop should last. It's fine. If not, we'll just trade. Why is this not like this? You got it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Ah!
Nope, not that. Presenter views, slideshow.
Just do slideshow.
That's what I did, and it was like not the right thing.
Oh.
I would have thought it'd be presenter, right?
It's fine.
I'm gonna get him to come sit here.
Yeah, sure. Going live. Doing it.
Well, I heard that's yeah, it's like oh, so I came yesterday and they have their so they didn't have it.
I think it's on. It's just really soft. Oh, it's on.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, should we do this like middle school, elementary school style? If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. Oh, if you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. Oh, great, we can all count. This is great. That's great. First of all, welcome in to Moonwake Coffee Roasters, and thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. It's been a really interesting journey for both Ming and myself to, have this space, and specifically for today's event, we had designed, the cafe to facilitate these kinds of conversations, and to bring, specialty coffee here to the South Bay or San Jose and the Greater Bay Area. So we're first of all really grateful for each and every one of you for showing up and taking your time to have this meet and greet with these 2 very special guests of ours. And if anything, we hope that from today's session you'll have a greater understanding and appreciation, and hopefully newfound passion for exploring specialty coffee, whether it's here or at home or wherever else you go. Because honestly, that's why we're all here. So. Just want to do a quick little bit of introductions for today's event. Welcome to our meet and greet session with the renowned Jose Ignacio Pepe, the one and only Jijon, and his son, the crown prince, I should say, Jose Jijon. First of all, let's give him a huge round of applause. So my name is Mabel. I am one of the founders of Moonwake Coffee Roasters.
I'm Ming.
He is the other co-founder of Moonwake Coffee Roasters. And for today, we're just really excited to have this session. It's going to be, we kind of named it as an open conversation with Pepe and Jose, and just a really awesome, unique opportunity to have someone come from the farm. Like Pepe literally just came from the farm and made sure everything was taken care of before his trip to come out here, but just to talk with us and share with all of us as enjoyers of his coffee, or hopefully will enjoy his coffee very soon, and just kind of understand a bit more of what goes into all of that amazing hard work and that passion and dedication for creating really, really beautiful coffees that we'll hopefully get a chance to try together. So with that, I think just a brief overview of this session. We're gonna have, Pepe and Jose kind of give us their whole life story. I don't know, maybe not. And if anything, share more about like Finca Soledad, kind of their journey into processing and producing coffees, some of their perspectives on what's exciting, what are the challenges, and hopefully what we as consumers, here in the States, being so far removed from what actually happens, can do, right, to support them and to support specialty coffee as a whole. So that way we can all continue to drink really amazing, delicious, beautiful coffees. Cool. All right, with that, first of all, I have my notes here so I don't, go off the rails, but I'm going to hand this to you really quick.
Yeah, I also want to give a quick shout out to a lot of the Bay Area coffee crew, Frank Juan, Robert, Yifan, Carrie. We definitely, pulled together to try to make this event work, and couldn't have done it without everybody here, so I appreciate it. We will be, on top of what Mabel said, we will be brewing a lot of Pepe's coffee at the end of the talking session. So we will be sharing both our JJ Washed as well as the sea oxidator that we just launched, which is a really nice one. We have a rested batch of it that should be ready to go, and we'll kind of share that, as well as have Pepe or Jose pull some sea oxidator shots from the Cybertruck. So should be really fun. Jose said he's got some great latte art to show everybody. So if anybody's interested, please ask him about it.
I do a mean chicken leg on the latter.
Chicken leg, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is being streamed on Instagram Live and also on Brian Kwan's YouTube channel. So you can go to Brian or youtube.com/Brian Kwan, Q-A-N, to see a recording of this as well. So with that, we can get started. So we've prepared a few slides, mostly just visual talking points, but I'm gonna have Jose and or Pepe and Jose just give more of that beautiful narrative of their land. And first of all, just wanted to have you guys introduce yourselves for reals. Okay, what are your names and how did you get into producing coffee?
Okay. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Pepe. I must say that I'm absolutely delighted to be able to share some time with y'all. Producing coffee is a lot more than a hot beverage. It's a transfer of energy that happens from the plant all the way down to the cup and your soul. So being able to share with you just makes my day. You know, it's very emotional for me to go from the coffee plants and now be here thanks to the Moonwake people and the Bay Area people. It's very emotional for me. Let me introduce myself. I'm just 50 years old now. Maybe feel a bit old or not. I've been doing coffee for only 15 years of my life. Before that, I was a mountain climber, a passionate mountain climber. I climbed Everest in 2006, and I was the first Latin American to solo summit the highest mountain of every continent. Quite a challenging career. At that point of my life, I pretty much thought that I've done the hardest part of it. But when I became a coffee farmer, I finally realized there was more challenge to me. Growing coffee, as growing any agricultural product, is quite a challenge nowadays. Changing weather patterns and soils are depleted. So I can honestly say, because I've done both sides, that being a coffee farmer is harder than climbing Everest. Trust me, guys, I'm not exaggerating. The first 10 years of my career were super challenging in the sense that we lost a lot of money. We almost went bankrupt due to the steep prices of coffee and the lack of accountability for the effort that's really put into making coffee. You can maybe say an iPhone costs $1,000, but a bag of coffee that you can take 3,000 cups of can cost $300. That doesn't make sense, you know. We need to get the things a little more even in our society. And yeah, that challenge of 10 years was very hard on me and my family. But eventually I started going out to coffee fairs and meeting the brother community, the nicer people, the good hearts, because in every community there's harsh people, but there's also beautiful people. And once you lock into that scene, it becomes a level platform for everybody to grow and show their products. This was in 2021, I think. It was in Milan. And afterwards, we started going to many coffee fairs. My son Jose joined the team, and everything became brighter for us. To the point that we are now sitting here sharing with you the experience. As Mabel said, and I also want to thank her, Ming, and all the team, this is going to be a talk of give and take. So I'd like to hear as many questions as possible because I'd love this to be interactive, okay? So I'm going to pass on the mic to Jose for his introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Jose Jijon. I'm 19 years old, and well, it's gonna be kind of hard to top those achievements. I still need to get my dad lore a little bit up. I need to get my stories, and we'll get there at some point. But yeah, I like to see myself as an pretty much just in the pursuit of being a human being throughout, in this case, coffee. Coffee has been a tool for me to reunite with so much people, for example, my dad, and to meet a lot of people, excellent people, beautiful people like you guys, and pretty much all over the world. And so I feel like I would always be in depth, and I talk a lot about this, especially like when I have these platforms, to be able to explore the fact that I'm just truly so grateful for coffee in every sense of the word. Coffee has given me the chance to meet beautiful people, to travel the world, and yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. And you're currently an intern, right, at Say Coffee?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you ever go to New York, you can have Jose, make you a drink as well. Cool. Actually, one thing that I think a lot of people might want to know is what is the story behind the nickname Pepe for you, Pepe?
This one is going to be a bit boring, but Pepe is how we call Jose. Like if your name is Jose in any Latin country, they call you Pepe. So it's just like a nickname, like I don't know, Nicholas Nick or Joe Joseph, but just Pepe sounds different. But I was talking to one of your employees about my signature, Pepe. When I was very small and young, I used to sign with my name, Pepe. And my father would look at me and say, "That's not a proper signature. That's a joke. You need to sign like a man." And I changed my signature. But now I went back to it, and I'm so proud of it. You have to trust yourself. You know, that's part of life. Growing up, loving your dad, but you have to be better, or at least trust yourself. So that's Pepe. Jose.
That's a, I guess, lesson for you too in the future.
yeah.
There you go. All right, awesome. So, in addition to, well, the name Pepe and Jose Jijon, a name that you might see familiar here at Moonwake is Finca Soledad. So, Finca Soledad, until I joined coffee, I did not know that finca meant farm. So somebody said finca this, finca that. I was like, why do they keep using that word? So, Finca Soledad. I wanted to ask you all, what is the meaning behind the name Finca Soledad, or what's the story behind, the farm name?
Okay. Soledad means solitude in English. It's a beautiful word. It doesn't mean loneliness. It means a space for crafting and for being happy. The name already existed in the property when we bought the land, so I was lucky enough not to have to name it, which is a responsibility. But I think it came along very well with my lifestyle. I was a solo climber before being a coffee guy. When I did this mountain ascents, I did it on my own. So I thought the name was just perfect. It just means solitude, and I always see it as an empty canvas to lay your feelings, your dreams, your thoughts. So I think it's a beautiful name.
I've been talking a lot, so I'll let Ming ask a few questions.
Yeah, I mean, since we're on the subject of Finca Soledad, I think we definitely wanted to give more transparency and knowledge about where coffee comes from. One big part of that for us, at least, was just planting a few coffee trees in the middle of the store.
In the spotlight.
Yeah, I love it. It definitely takes the spotlight, as it should. But yeah, a lot of people don't know where coffee comes from, and the plants that grow at Finca Soledad would probably be a lot different than these few that are struggling to stay alive right now. But yeah, I was hoping you could talk a bit more about kind of what it's like on Finca Soledad. How is it structured? We definitely have some really cool slides from the processing side, but also from the plants itself. But maybe you could talk a bit more about how you structured everything and what's your approach at Finca Soledad.
Perfect. Yeah, it's something that we don't know about coffee. Is first of all that coffee is a fruit. Did you guys know that? Coffee is a fruit. It's not just a bean. It has sweetness. It has a shell. It has mucilage. It has a lot of taste. So let's start by growing coffee. If you have a seed like the ones you grind, you put it on the earth in sand, so the pivotal root will grow straight, and you have to wait for about 3 months until that pops up. Okay. After 3 months, you put that little plant into a plastic bag with a special mix of earth, and you have to wait for about 1 year until you can put it on the earth. Okay. And when you put it on the earth, you have to wait for about 3 years before you start yielding coffee. So that's like an all-around 4-year process. It's like having a child. And we take it for granted that coffee is an easy thing, like we just brew, blah, 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 but there's so much effort behind it. Like if you grow a bean or corn, you will have it in 3-6 months. But coffee is like a 4-year, and it's an annual thing, and you have to take care of the plant. So I consider that as nurturing, as having an extended family. So our approach in the farm is like a biodynamic approach. We try to go in cycles with the moon as much as we can for harvest, for planting, for pruning. We believe in something we call the wave philosophy, which more than a process, it's a way to approach coffee as much passionately as possible. Again, I use the word human. I'd like coffee to be treated as humans. When you are treating the plant, when you are pruning, when you do it with love. When it's been harvested, the people that harvest that coffee need to be happy. They don't need to be like sad workers waiting for a paycheck or nothing. They need to be happy and involved in what we're doing. So that's again part of the wave philosophy. I was talking about the moon. When we harvest, we try to do it in tune with the moon because the nutrients are higher in the plants at some points at the harvest period. And when we do the processing parts, again, we try to do that with much more love. But I think we're going to go talk processing and wave a little later. You want to add something, Jose, to the agricultural part of coffee?
Oh, so it's actually a beautiful thing that I've been able to experience in La Soledad since I pretty much grew alongside the plants. In pretty much now they're taller than me, which sucks. But I truly always got attracted to the coffee plant in a weird way, in the sense that I love the root system. I love the way the plant lives out and the way it flourishes. It's a really beautiful word that relates to that I use a lot is like eudaimonia, which is a word that Aristotle used for like human flourishing. I relate that to the coffee plant in the sense that it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the little plant just keep growing and growing and growing, and then it gives out this beautiful carmesy color, beautiful cherry that you just see the people that we work with, which are also like incredible and beautiful people, Paola, Miguelito, Rosario, and you just love to see like the smile they have on their faces while they harvest, you know? Something that you see at La Soledad is that you wake up and you go to the fields and you just start hearing Miguelito sing Spanish songs at the top of his lungs, and like it's just like a magic chant, you know? And it's something beautiful that actually when I was a kid I didn't like saw that much, you know, because I was just like I always loved working in the field, especially not necessarily in processing or that, but yeah, I felt weirdly in love with the coffee plant. It was, and actually like one of my favorite activities was to like just be with Miguelito, which is one of my best friends in the world, and just be a full day of working and just enjoy the sun, enjoy working, enjoy touching the earth. And I feel like it's a very rewarding experience to be able to do a good job on the plant, because you always need to take care of it and it takes care of you, giving you caffeine so you can do the work yourself. So yeah, it's a cool circle.
Yeah, very cool. And Pepe was talking about transplanting. So you shared these photos earlier. Yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about what we see here.
Yeah. Those are the little seedlings that you can see. And my wife is putting them in the hole. And the other photo is coffee is a flower before being a fruit. And when the flower falls, the fruit starts growing. And that one is actually I took that photo like yesterday, I think, or the day before, because I was a bit stressed. We haven't had any rain in 4 months at Soledad, and we're supposed to be right now in the rainy season. And I almost canceled the trip because I'm like, my plants are dying. And just the day before, you know, just like a magic thing, boom, it started raining. It's beautiful. So I took a photo like it's really, really happy green beans that one day will be in your cup. Anyway, that's.
Yeah, well, I wanted to add on to that. So I think, you know, the way that you approach it is so lovely, like how beautiful it is. I think you paint like a really great picture of how in tune you are with nature. But at the same time, I know it can't be easy, right? There must be a lot of struggles. Like you just mentioned the drought. Like I was wondering, you know, if you can walk us through some of the challenges you guys face on a daily basis or on a seasonal basis.
I'm going to make you laugh now. You know what's the biggest problem for coffee? Is the industry, the people that don't understand or respect how hard it is to grow coffee. On a daily basis, we are challenged with unfair prices and an unfair society that doesn't accept the fact that we live from the ground. You know, the base of our pyramid is not technology. It's food. We have to eat, guys. And when we try to sell our product, it becomes so much harder when the market, the C price, the New York stock, and blah, 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 kills us. You know, they really put us down. So I would say that the biggest challenge is to make people aware that we should be more respectful towards nature in our daily lives, in our daily basis. You know, water is becoming scarce everywhere in the world. Here we open the tap and we drink. But if you go to India, most people have to walk for like 5 kilometers to get a bucket of water to drink and wash. And that's becoming a wider reality in the whole planet. So we need to be aware that this is happening, and we need to be aware and put our producers here in the States, in Ecuador, and everywhere as the real heroes of society. I respect sports, I love sports and everything, but I do believe that the real heroes in our society are the little people that do the hard work in the farmlands. And I think coffee is a good platform to extend that knowledge and that responsibility that we share as humans to respect nature. The changes in weather that we've seen around the world, it's crazy, you know, what's going on is crazy. The fertility of soils is changing so much. Like you plant something, we had a lot of coffee, a plot of coffee at Soledad where we planted. The coffee grew, the plants grew, but they didn't yield. And we did everything right. The varietale was okay, everything, but they didn't yield. So we made further analysis and the soil was dead. The soil didn't have the biodynamics to create fruits. So we had to plant trees and we waited for 10 years and now we can plant coffee again. So I'm just trying to relay not a catastrophic perspective, but one of awareness that we together can change bits by bits these compromises. The other problems with coffee, like plagues, like fungus or insects, that everything has a solution. You just need to find the right balance in nature. But the real problem is that society embraces nature again and loves nature again. That I think is the challenge that we have as a chain. The hot mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revolution!
Cool. No, that was. I think that's also a big reason why we wanted to host you today is to share, straight from the source, right? Ming and I can do, and all of our baristas here, amazing baristas, can do what we can. But hearing the one where all of this is impacting, right, is a completely different experience. So thank you so much for sharing that and letting us know what we can do too. Just being here, I think, is a huge part of bridging that gap in terms of awareness and appreciation for nature, and hopefully as you think about the rest of your life too. Cool. I had a few more pictures that we can go through. We can just. I just want to make sure that people can get a sense of how beautiful the farmlands are, and it's. Jose, do you want to talk about like where Finca Soledad is located and kind of that like the, Pepe mentioned like the biodiversity and the biodynamics, but yeah, what's your favorite part?
So La Soledad is located in the Intac Valley. It's pretty much in Imbabura, the Imbabura province in Ecuador. It's pretty much 1,600 meters above sea level, and it's part of this incredible misty valley that has this also, like, I think it's one of the most places with the most amount of biodiversity in the world, in the Chocondino. And you get to Soledad and you instantly get received by coffee, but you get mostly received by multiple varieties of trees, multiple varieties of bushes, which I found lovely because it's not just like coffee spread around with nothing surrounding it. It's like a symbiotic relationship that we have between the earth and we have between other plants and coffee, because coffee is very difficult to make it exist without nothing around it. It needs shade, it needs the proper amount of shade as well. And I like to see the farm as a garden with a little bit of coffee in it, because we're trying to preserve nature, we're trying to preserve seeing the armadillos walk around, the porcupines, we're trying to preserve the birds. It's not just about destroying, it's about getting the care and just protecting the land, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, to protect where we come from. And yeah.
I wanted to add something small here. Not small, but very big. And I completely agree with what Jose said. We don't grow coffee, we grow ecosystems. And you guys help preserve it. Because if it wasn't for you guys drinking our coffees here and people here serving the coffee, this wouldn't be happening. So if you think if you guys are grateful to me, I'm grateful to you. For real, guys, for real. Because I know you take the extra effort to come to this coffee shop. I know the coffees are a little more expensive, but at the end of the day, you are purchasing love. You're not purchasing a cup of coffee. And that love comes from us, from the roaster, which does a great job, by the way. I just tried the Típica Mejorado. It's one of the best espresso I had. The baristas that give their sweat of the labor, to make you smile at the end of the day. So this is about all of us. And thank you, okay? Thank you so much for drinking our coffee.
It's hard to kind of follow up such inspirational message. Yeah, I think there's a lot of folks here maybe new to kind of just even the day-to-day of growing coffee. Would love to kind of share a little bit more detail about some of the technical aspects of the coffee that you produce. I think Maybe some people are familiar with, say, like wash process or natural, or some people might even be new, completely new to the concept of like producing and processing. So yeah, would love to kind of, you talked about planting the trees, and would love to learn more from, your day-to-day, what happens after, the trees are planted and they bear fruit.
After we harvest the coffee, when we have those cherries, I always want to think of them as a perfect product of nature, like a 90 plus coffee. And then when we start the processing, the drying and everything else, we start making little mistakes and that coffee quality comes down to 86, 84, 90 or whatever. But I do believe that those cherries there, with the smiles of the people, with the heart they put into the work, are perfect cherries. So when you have a coffee cherry, you can go several different processing methods. Like when you buy a coffee and it says washed, what does washed mean? Washed means we put it into a machine that pretty much depulps, takes the skin of the mucilage and only leaves the seed. When you have that seed, you can go to a process of drying. Another process would be to leave the mucilage on, and you could create a honey. And another process, which is the most ancient one, is make a natural. What is a natural coffee? It's a coffee that is dried with its pulp and its skin, like the one you see in the photo. Now, people talk a lot about processing and the methods, but there is something that people don't talk about, and I love to talk about, which is drying. When you process a coffee, you can take 2 days, 4 days, 10 days to process, but drying can take up to 40, 50 days. So in that little moment of time, so much magic happens, because coffee, and that's going to be a surprise and a lot for you guys, it's a lot more complicated than wine, for example. Wine industry being so old, you have a grape, you press it, you ferment it, you leave it some time, you decant, you put on a bottle, and then you serve and drink. Coffee is not like that. Coffee, you buy a green bean. You have to find the formula to roast, sample rolls, curds. Then you have to grind. Then you have to use the proper water, the proper brew method, and serve. So coffee in a way is a lot more complicated. And another thing that I wasn't talking about is in coffee, you don't eat any pulp. You actually consume the seed, right? And not only that, but you have to roast it. So there's so much chemical transformations where you can screw up in the process of making coffee that this adds just more magic to it. So making coffee, believe me guys, is so hard. I know some of you are home enthusiasts here and do the brewing at home. There's so many rabbit holes that you can go into, right? You can have a coffee that tastes like this one day and tastes like that the other day. Why? That doesn't happen to wine or whiskey. Coffee has this little magic. I call it an ephemeral thing. It's something that blooms and it goes away. That I think challenges are us to be better in life. Yeah. I'd like some questions, right? Yeah. I'm hearing people, but I'd like, please, if you guys want to say something, I would love to answer anything related to coffee or.
What coffee do you drink when you climb mountains?
Oh, that's going to be a sad answer. I wasn't a coffee drinker up until I was 25 years old because I thought coffee was Nescafe. That's how ignorant I was. I grew up in a society where people drink like horrible coffee. So I was a tea guy. I would love to drink my tea. In the mountains, I never had a cup of coffee up until when I started producing it. And at the beginning, I was like a bit reluctant. But then I realized like light roast. What's light roast? What's acidity? What's sweetness? People like to mend. They add sugar. They add this. They're not drinking coffee. They're drinking like a culinary experience, I say sometimes. But coffee by itself, it's such a magic and powerful tool. But yeah, I drink no coffee. My first coffee was a típica mejorado, and the first coffee that got me crazy in love was a geisha. The first time I tried a geisha, this florality just blew my mind to the point that I'm like, I want to do this for a life. And thank God I've been able to recreate some of the coffees that I've tried. Típicas, citras, geishas. By the way, at the farm, we only have a típica mejorado, which is actually hill rum mixed with a bourbon. Not a típica at all. A sidra, that's a landrace that came from Okay. Oh, wow. Wow, this is better. Now I'm like, whoa. Yeah, so at the farm, we grow típica mejorado, which is a hill rum mixed with a bourbon. We have a sidra, that's a landrace. All the coffees that we're drinking eventually come from Africa, right? So, and we have geisha from Ethiopia, and also we have some geisha from Panama that I brought some seeds from, and we are having our first harvest this year. We try to keep our processing very, very clean. We don't go into co-fermenting or infusing coffees. We believe that nature has the answer. We understand that people like to try a co-ferment coffee because it's more intense, but we're more in the balance, in the integrity, in the structure, in the cleanliness of coffee, because we consider coffee a medicine. So yeah, more questions? Yeah.
Are you changing like the minerals in the ground for different varieties that you're growing, or is it pretty consistent?
We try to keep the terroir alive, and we try to use minerals to feed the plant to open up and absorb more minerals. So we don't treat every varietal differently. We treat the plantation as a whole, but of course we have to tackle different problems in every plantation. Yeah, but we try to and we separate varietals. When we harvest coffee, we do Sidra, we do Typica, we do Geisha separately to respect the terroir.
How do you like to brew coffee at home?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not into the rabbit holes of brewing. I'm more a V60 guy, straightforward. Use the right water, use the right grind, and play with time, a little bit the grind size, and that's it. I'm not too complicated in that sense. Jose would be able to answer that question better, right?
Well, thanks to Brian and Robert mainly. Well, when they came to the farm, they teach me so many new rabbit holes. I got kind of like almost like a brain freeze from so much information coming into my brain. But me personally, my favorite dripper would be the switch, which is like a really like I think unique answer. But I'm trying to like change my dad into something more of like a UFO or like something. But he loves his B60, which I respect a lot. And yeah, I would totally agree with my dad. There is so much stuff that you can focus on, but I feel like just the basics, it's more than enough. I'm trying to like figure out water, and it's just like for now it's just being insane. But I do feel like these small little details also make the making the coffee a way more of a unique experience, which I also appreciate and completely understand on why would you like to get the most out of the coffee. And it's also pretty inspiring seeing people that try to just like push the coffee as much as it can so you can understand the coffee as much as you can. And that is also really valuable in terroir focused coffees because you're able to explode and you're able to almost feel like the terroir itself of the land that it was harvested on. So I found brewing an extremely interesting subject in any sense of the word, in every step of the processing, and yeah.
I think you enjoy a nice X-Bloom brew here and there in the morning, right? Yeah, a little alarm clock. Oh, just like press the
The
X-Bloom.
Terminator. Have you heard of the X-Bloom? It's a crazy machine. Press a button in your mind, you don't have to wake up. You get the coffee while you go to the bathroom, you go back to bed. I'm like, please tell my son, how you do that? It's the future.
Yeah, for those not familiar, X-Bloom is actually a local Bay Area company. They make a, I guess, automated pour-over brewer. Yeah, we may or may not have something in the works.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna try to go through some of the pictures. Oh, maybe a picture of the team.
That's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned some of that. How many people actually work on the farm with you, or I guess, who makes up? I mean, it's not just you two doing everything, right?
No. I love that photo. I have to thank Robert for this. He came with Brian to the farm a few months ago, and they brought so much joy. They made people feel like empowered. Everybody had their photo taken, and everybody was happy about it. So thank you, Brian, and thank you, Robert, for that. That was really, really a special moment for me. Yeah, we are just a part of the team. We work mainly with women. Unfortunately, women that have no husbands in rural areas in Ecuador and around the world. It happens a lot that people get together, have children, and then split. And unfortunately, women are with the kids, and it's very unstable condition. But coffee gives them a big opportunity because coffee is so democratic and so valued for women because women are in a way more sensitive than men and a little less careless. Like I don't know if this is like when a man harvests stuff, he wants to do it hard. I break stuff. Women are more gentle. They take more time. They get more into the synergy of the bean, so they treat the plant much better. So our farm is pretty much run by women, and they take the decisions. I don't say much there. I just accept what they tell me because I know what they're doing, and they know better than me because they spend more time in the coffee field. So the way we work in our farm is very different than the approach that other farms do in the world. In other farms, everywhere in the world, people get paid by the pound or the kilo that they harvest in cherry. So it's like a monetary transaction. You make 100 kilos, you get $50, whatever. But I think that diminishes the spiritual sense of the harvesting, because it should be something done with the heart and not with a ticking clock on your mind. So we just pay them the highest fare possible in Ecuador, and they harvest 10 kilos, 20 kilos, 60 kilos. So we don't turn the coffee into something mercantile, you know. We just turn it we let it be a spiritual thing. So that's the way we've been handling the farms for 10 years. It's maybe a little more expensive, but it's completely worthy. Going into wages, I don't know if you guys know, but for example, in Ecuador, the daily wage for harvesting coffee is $30 a day. For you, that might sound like a $30 an hour thing, but no, $30 a day, and that's a whole lot of money in Ecuador, because you can eat with $2 a day in Ecuador. But in Central America, you get paid $6, $7, $8 a day. In Colombia, you get paid $6, $7, $8 a day, and in Africa, a worker gets paid $1 a day. So that's what makes Ecuadorian coffee a little more expensive. But I say this with pride, because the money doesn't come to us, the money is shared with other people. So, which is very, very good. And in a way, we need to change that. There's a trend right now, people are talking that coffee is the new gold. You know, the New York Stock Exchange went from $1.80 to $3.20. That's bullshit, sorry. Coffee should cost at least $10 a pound, because that's the only way it will be possible for the communities to live. So I go from double standards, which is people that say, this, that, to double digits. Coffee should cost $10 a pound. You could still make money out of it, because of 1 kilo of coffee, you can make about 80 cups. So 80 cups at $5, that's $400. It's not too bad, you know. So the $10 a pound doesn't change much into the whole industry, but it just should change, because we want everybody to share the wealth, and not just the importers, the exporters, and this, that. Okay, sorry for going there, but I always have to talk about what I feel. Vamos.
No, that's great. I think like on this topic too, another big concern that I started to talk to Jose about, which I'd love to hear more about, is like, you know, there's a lot of struggles, but one of the bigger ones is how do we continue this into the future with newer generations? These problems still exist, and you know, in some places they get better, in some places they aren't changing as much as we would want. Jose, you have a unique perspective in that you're kind of like the next generation of this, and maybe there isn't as many interest into continuing coffee in a lot of places. And just curious about what you've seen, what are your thoughts about it, and maybe some of your ideas too for the future that you want to do to try to change that around.
Yeah, so this is a very, very important subject for me in terms of the coffee production world, is in the sense that in most coffee producing countries, being agriculture and like corn or whatever, like even in this sense, coffee is seen as a job that it's meant for you to not be necessarily extremely successful, in the sense that you're not going to be able to afford like a very good living, which is for me extremely sad, you know, because there's so much work that you guys are seeing right now, and you guys have probably seen in videos like from Brian or whatever, that I feel like what I want to do, and we were talking about this, is that I don't know, let's say in the next 10 years what I'm going to be doing. Maybe it's coffee, maybe it's not. But I want to do is that, at least in the sense that I want to leave a good mark on the coffee world, especially on the producing side. So my dream is to go to the schools near Intag, go to the schools near San Pedro, in Loja, and just start showing little kids my own age, that you can be a coffee producer. You can have this incredibly noble and beautiful profession and still be able to afford a decent living, and still be able to send your kids to college if they want to, still be able to travel the world, because it's such a profession that demands so much of you, that you should be able to afford good things, you should be able to afford nice clothes, you should be able to enjoy yourself, because you're giving so much to the world, and in most occasions, you're not getting almost nothing from it back, you know? And that also falls into something that is extremely important for me, and that we're gonna also work a lot with when Brian comes back to the farm, is that I just wanna keep showing producers, or like future generations of producers, that our biggest tool as producers is definitely social media, it's definitely marketing, because you love a good story, you know? and that's extremely important. And even in the sense that me having an Instagram account and just getting these daily messages of people saying, I love the coffee, I love your story, I love the farm, it's just such a rewarding and heart-warming experience, you know, and it makes all the hassles, all the things of like the rough things of coffee producing be a little bit more tolerable, you know, because your work is being seen, your work is being appreciated by people all over the world, people who love what you're doing, and it just fills the soul up, you know, and it just even makes you be way more appreciative, and it wants to make you put even more energy into what you're doing, because it's an artisan job. It's turning this beautiful mass, this beautiful perfect mass of filled with complexity, fruitiness, sweetness, and turning into this beautiful beverage that people share. And this is, I'm going a little bit farther, but just a little bit more time, is that this beautiful thing turns into this beverage that we as humans use it as a mean to socialize, in the sense that you go to Moonwake, you take a cup of coffee with your friend, you take a cup of coffee with your girlfriend. Coffee is a way of it's a mean to unite our communities, you know. We don't take coffee too serious, in the sense that we don't see it as a uniting tool, but at the end of the day, it really is, because you tell your friend to go get a coffee. And why not make that an excellent cup of coffee, like a beautiful típica mejorado from Ecuador, or like a geisha from Ethiopia? It's definitely like one of the things that I always want to highlight in coffee is that the thing I love the most, to be honest, it's like I love processing, I love being on the farm, but I love the way it unites people, and that's for me my objective in life. You know, it's yeah. Well, I'll keep talking later on this term, but yeah, I can go hours and hours about coffee community, which is absolutely beautiful. But yeah. Oh, thank you.
And I think that's what's really special about, I think hopefully most people that end up going into coffee as a profession or as a hobby, is that intersection of bringing that product and the experience, right? If you just focused on one or the other, you know, it's kind of an imbalance. You have a great product, but you don't care about people, then you can just brew coffee at home. You know, why put all this effort into, you know, sharing it with other people? On the same side, you know, if you have great experiences, then you know, you could choose to brew something that's not coffee. You know, it could be potato chips or something. I don't know. You know, so but all that to say is just the intersection of both. You know, the product and the experience, and the human connection is really, really awesome. Cool. I'm gonna open up to audience questions too, since this is an open conversation. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of getting the coffee from the farm into the market itself? Like, who are the people, what are the challenges, and how did the coffee end up here?
That is actually a great question, and it relates a lot to the photo that's right now happening up there. I'm just telling you a story about this coffee that you are seeing right there. It's a Sidra wash that we did a process with my friend Brian, Jose, and Robert at the farm. And how did that happen, you know? So Jose connected through social media to Brian, became friends. We met each other at the coffee exposition in Chicago, became more friends, and we ended up talking about, why don't you guys come and check the farm, and we process the coffee together. Not just about a transaction, but just like come and visit us, and we'll do something together, and you can go to the Bay Area and market it. And it ended up happening, you know. So that's a beautiful example of how you can interconnect under the normal lines of import, export, green buyer, exporter, this, because mainly most farmers have never tried their coffee. They just sell a product to a company that sells a product to a company that sells a product to a company, blah, blah, blah. That's not coffee. That's commercial coffee. That's not what we're talking about right here. We're talking about what Jose said, interconnecting people through links, through ways of roasting coffee, serving coffee, providing something that has spirit. If you go to a supermarket and you buy a cheap coffee for like $10 a pound, whatever, that's not coffee, man. That's something else. I don't want to talk about it. This is coffee. This is coffee because it's interconnected between souls that have shifted the energy parts by parts by parts to the end product, and to a person who has a soul to drink it. So we are trying to break the rules of colonialism, of traditional ways of making business, up to a point that we become like allies into the shift. I don't know if it answered your question, but yes, we're just trying to make things differently.
But I guess the more technical answer is that I believe it came on FedEx. Is that right? Yes.
Direct trade.
Direct trade. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we were fortunate enough to get all of our coffees shipped directly to us from Pepe and Jose to our doorstep, which is very rare. A lot of times there's a lot of hoops that you have to go through, especially with any food products, with FDA, customs, all of that. So it's not surprising that a lot of roasters do end up working with importers that can take care of a lot of that complicated paperwork and administrative things. But again, another player that you have to pay out, and you kind of lose that direct connection. So not to say that it's there's a time and a place, right, for these things. So
I was wondering just about the community of producers and how information is shared between producers and specialty coffee like yourselves. I'm sure that information is something that you learn over many years and decades even. I'm wondering if there's a community of producers like yourself.
That is another great question. When I got started into coffee, we relied with agronomists and people from the government that would come and try to help us get our products better. But I remember a guy from the Ministry of Agriculture coming to the farm, and I'll show him a coffee plant, and he'll be like, "Is that coffee?" So the guys didn't know nothing. The knowledge for coffee growing is not readily available. You can do the things right, but you can almost always do the things wrong. It's very complicated to grow into the coffee environment. The way you produce coffees, it's very hard. To get good quality coffee is not easy. That's why a lot of people have gone into co-fermenting and infusing, because it's a much easier method to make coffee. But doing true terroir coffee requires a lot of passion and a lot of energy. And I've been very frustrated sometimes trying to explain what I do to other producers for them to replicate, and they don't get the results and they get pissed at me. And I'm like, dude, there's farm magic, and every farm is a little different. You just need to try to find the best way to express what I call the silent language of nature. I'm always a romantic, so to me, romance is always going to be part of my job. But I completely agree that the community of producers should be a lot more united. And in this sense, you can see that in Panama, for example. The Panamanian producers, they're so united when they go to coffee fairs. They have a booth, they share everything, and they're the best producers in the world. Other countries are not that united, and that's what the problem is. Ecuador's coffee is not very well known. Peruvian, Colombian, Brazilian, Panamanian, but Ecuador is a tiny little dot. So that's an opportunity, but a challenge. So I think we should be more connected. So I completely agree with you.
Sorry. I'll just add a little bit of another thing to that, in the sense, and talking about the thing that my dad said about the uniqueness of each land. I also think that something that is extremely important as well is the uniqueness that we as human beings have, in the sense that, for example, and talking genetically, we are like an anomaly. Every single one of us, it's unique, and there will be no replication of our DNA code, and it will never happen, And that uniqueness is also extremely important for me in coffee growing, because everybody has this different type of energy that you can put into the thing that you're working on. And there comes a beautiful term that I love called mastering. And mastering in this sense, for example, coffee producing or coffee processing, I feel like it's an extremely important thing, and it's just, I like to see this as a calling that every single person is born with, Every single person, I think, has something special inside of them that guides them throughout a thing that they love, In my case, I think it's mainly just being a social person, in the sense that I really just love people. I love being able to make people happy. I love being able to make people smile. And that's why, in the sense, I chose coffee as a vessel to that, because I'm able to connect with so much people. I'm able to make people happy. And that's the only thing that I really want to be in life. And the thing that I want to master in life is just be as the better human being as I can be as possible. And coffee is a vessel for that, because coffee is, for me, also like a representation of your personality. And this is just like a unique business. It's a unique family. And pretty much it's just also recognizing that we're always going to be merely caregivers to the land. You will never own land. You will always just be in this process of continuous caregiving to the land. And I feel like it's also really, really something important, to leave a good mark and naturally, like as a human being, a social being, but also on Earth, you know.
That's a good caffeine kicking in.
Yeah. I took one sip and I was like, oh my god.
That's a great question.
This goes back to the question about trading. I'm wondering if you ever tried importer-exporters, and how did you end up in this unorthodox way of direct trade? And knowing all these other producers in other regions and countries, do you find that to be a way moving forward for producers making great coffee to market the coffee at a more fair price?
I think each country has its own reality. For example, in Africa and Ethiopia, you cannot deal direct. You have to go to mills, to government and stuff. But in our case, in Ecuador, I think we've been blessed with being unknown as an origin. So that opened an opportunity to make your products exotic. But big companies that buy your beans, they don't want that, man. They don't want you to be empowered and sell the coffee at the price that you think you deserve. They want the coffee to be very cheap so that they can make a little profit and sell it to someone else. So again, we go back to the Mercantile transaction. I feel I'm blessed to be able to do direct trade. You know why? Because I love to know where my coffee goes. And I love to entangle into a very deep and emotional and romantic relationship with the roasters and the people that serve our coffee. To me, that's just part of the trail, you know. You feel when you get well paid, of course, it's nice, but it's also much better when you know where the coffee goes and the people that drink it and you get nice comments. I think that's the way things should go. You know, it's not just about the money, it's about the relationship, it's about knowing how the people is roasting the coffee, being able to come here and talk to you guys. That's the real pay for us, you know. That's where I feel paid. So I think it's the right way, man. Direct trade with no need for certifications or nothing fancy. This is just beautiful. It's a natural way of trading your coffee, I think.
Any other questions? Feel free to. Oh yeah.
How do you decide what varieties to grow?
Oh, that's a great question. In Ecuador, we were blessed with the arrival of Sidra and Típica Mejorado through a project sponsored by Nestle in the early 90s. And that project wanted to create F1 hybrids that would have a very nice cup, but also be resilient to rust and agricultural problems. But those little seeds spread around Ecuador's small farms, and a few of them were wise enough to start growing them. So the thing about Ecuador, again, being an exotic small country, we cannot try to imitate Colombia, for example. We cannot try to be a pink bourbon people or be a Cattleya from Brazil. We have to have our own DNA. So in that sense, Típica Mejorado and Sidra became our DNA, but are still evolving because we only had them for like 20 years. Like Panama Geisha has been in Panama for like 70 years. So that's why it tastes so good, man, because it's been nurtured with a lot of love in a beautiful place for such a long time. So I think maybe in 20 years, Sidra and Típica will be as good as that. I don't like to experiment. I don't like to try Eugenoides, Laurinas, or stuff like that because it takes too long, man. And I'm not a rich person and I don't have much time. So if I'm going to start with a project, I'm going to know the results in 10 years. I don't want to waste my time if I know that Típica and Sidra are great. So I try to keep it very simple at the farm, you know, because it's a very complicated job.
Yeah, what's your question?
How do you like to choose fine roasters such as Moonwake?
That happens naturally, man. You know, I think it's karma, it's evolution, it's however you want to call it. But to me, it's such a blessing. This morning when I came in and had a great breakfast and then came here for coffee, and I just asked for the Típica wash, you know, because I wanted to see that coffee is a shy coffee, but it's so elegant. And the first thing that struck me is like one of the best roasts I had of that coffee in a long time. The last time I tried such a good coffee roast was in 2021 from Café Circular Ivica. He was the one that best roasted that coffee. And the second time, boom, my man Ming. So I'm super excited and thankful. Guys, that's it. White florals, pear, elegant. It's a shy coffee. That's it.
Ming's a shy guy, so it works out. I'm actually going to just segue into what you kind of talked about because there's in terms of experimentation because there's actually an exciting project that Jose I think is spearheading as caretaker of maybe some of you aren't aware of San Pedro. So I'm curious to, have you share more about this new project? What's exciting for you compared to, what you guys are doing at Soledad, and just share a little bit more about that.
Well, hello. Yeah, okay. So I think okay. Yeah, so that's our new venture in the province of Loja. It's a new farm called San Pedro, located at 2,222 meters above sea level. It's this extremely different terrain from La Soledad, which I found to be unique. Also, like in a way, a pain in the ass, but it's also absolutely beautiful in the sense that it's unique because La Soledad is extremely foresty, misty place where like you can put the shovel in and you slide through like Play-Doh. Then you go into San Pedro and it's this very harsh and dry terrain, almost like Mars, where you put the shovel in and it just returns to you, and because you hit a rock probably. And in this new venture, we are mainly focusing on Típica Mejorado, which is the flagship variety and what we can call ours in Ecuador, which is also extremely unique. We've started with a couple of plants. We already got some plants that are grown enough to give out some beans, and they have been tasting really, really amazingly, which I'm extremely proud of. It's a extremely also a hard job to do because it's also like pretty much a new way of growing coffee. You have to do like I try to get a similar thing that if you see the movie Dune, you see how they walk through the sand with a certain tone, like they know how to do it. That's the same thing in San Pedro because there's no way of winning against the land, and even less with just struggle, being tense with the land. You just need to follow what the land gives you out because you will never be able to control the weather. You will never be able to control how the soil reacts to you. So you just need to be able to play around with it and respect it. I feel like San Pedro, it's an extremely unique place. It has also a lot of historic material behind it. For example, there were thousands of years ago, there were ovens that burned precious metals that were made in thousands of years ago in San Pedro, which I feel like just charged the soul even more. And I'm pretty much a new coffee producer in the sense that I have so much to learn, but I'm so excited for the journey ahead because I love, and it's also extremely important to focus on the final product, but I feel like the process and the progress of mastering coffee producing and coffee processing will be one of the greatest things that I hope I'm gonna be able to achieve, and that's why I'm really I couldn't even be more grateful to have somebody like my dad alongside me working in San Pedro. He's one of the most knowledgeable persons I know in every sense of the word, in every single aspect of life as well. I couldn't even be more grateful to have him as my dad. He's the greatest dad in the whole world. I love him with all my heart, and he's my hero. He will always be my hero, and I just want to be a better person than him, and I know he wants me to be the same. So that's a beautiful thing though, because he does, and that's the beautiful thing about fatherhood, because you want the other person to be better than you, and I would want the same thing for my kid. And just having somebody like that alongside me in this beautiful new project is a blessing, and I couldn't ask for more. He's the greatest. My pops.
I have that recorded on video, so next time you ever have a disagreement, you can have that on video and you just make up. Cool. Sean, I think you had a question, or you might. Oh, sure. Oh.
So, I'm from Bolivia, and I think something that happens to a lot of us that emigrate is that you find treasures from your land once you're outside of it. And one thing I wanted to ask you was, it has happened in Bolivia as well. We're a very small market for cacao and even for coffee. But every now and then, these large markets like the US or Europe take notice, and suddenly they become very popular, and there's a huge demand for our product. And what seems to happen in Bolivia is that the way they solve that issue is with hyper-industrialization, and the essence of their project gets lost. So my question to you is, how do you see sustainable growth for the way you approach coffee if, let's say, Ecuadorian coffee becomes a huge thing?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, and the answer is like I said before, we don't grow coffee, we grow ecosystem. So the problem is, like, for example, in Colombia, the Colombian coffee is just about quantity. They plant 10,000 plants per hectare. We plant 2,000. They cut most of the trees to make it more productive. We do the opposite. We plant trees and we plant less coffee. So I do believe you're right that the approach should be political, because if it doesn't happen like that, we'll just keep cutting down the forest to plant more coffee, because the demand is just going up. They say that in 50 years from now, there will not be enough coffee to drink. So, yeah, we need to make this sustainable. Like, for example, European community has laid down a new set of rules from next year. We have to prove that we do not cut trees in order to sell coffee. Yeah, it can work, but that also becomes a problem to send coffee around, because farms need to be certified, and I don't believe in certification. I believe in responsibility as humans. This said, when you said Bolivia, just the first word that came to me was Taquesi Geisha. One of the best coffees in the world comes from Bolivia, but it's a very small farm that not many people know about. But within the coffee community, when you say Bolivia, you say Taquesi Geisha. So you said good coffee. So you see, we need to follow those examples of people that do take care of the land and do produce beautiful coffees. So that's why the industry is so beautiful, because it's not about globalism, it's about the small little things, the small little people that make big changes. Mm.
Hand raising. No?
Is everyone?
There's definitely a lot of.
We want coffee.
Yeah, people just want coffee right now, right? I'm just kidding. Cool. Yeah, I think with that, we are kind of at 2:15, and our session ends at 3. The next part of our kind of meet and greet was actually to try and brew coffee together, or at least try a lot of different coffees. There's a lot of us, so we're going to figure out what's a good way to kind of distribute some of this. Yeah, you can start grinding. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah. Harry's been waiting for a really long time because it's that loud.
We love that sound, right?
Yeah. But no, we can also go through the rest of the slideshow because I want to.
You're gonna go through the rest of
Sure. I mean, just, if Pepe wants to talk about what we see here.
I think as a good segue too, we are going to be brewing, I believe, the sea oxidator. Is that correct, Harry? What are we brewing?
Oh, this is the Siaki Ishida.
Yeah.
Since we're launching it today, the first brew, right?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. From the first cupping right after roasting all the way till when some of the first brews when it's rested. But if you want to maybe give an intro to the coffee before everybody gets a chance to taste it, might be a good chance.
So Zioxy, I like to play with names, because it's much better also for business, but also to get inspired. I'm a lot into reading, just like my son. I always like poetry. So Zioxy is Sidra, which is the varietal, and Oxy is a process that we developed that instead of fermenting coffee, which is like closed environment fermentation, we let it oxidize. The difference between oxidation and fermentation is that fermentation is more controllable because it's in a sealed environment. Oxidation happens in an open tank, so things can go nice or sour. So we play a lot with that to create and make an essence of the coffee to be as sweet as possible. So the cherries are hand-picked. We use no water for flotation because we want to allow the natural yeasts of the coffee to evolve. The yeast in the coffee is in the shell, it's in the skin. So when you rinse it, you're taking that away. So we leave that to oxidize, and we do that for 24 hours, and then we depulp the coffee with a machine, and we put it on a sealed bag for 24 to 48 hours, again, for the mucilage to clean up naturally, and then we do the slow drying. This coffee is quite special to me. There's a lot of people that like it, that have liked it around the world, but it's a coffee it's again a bit shy. When you do it at the cupping, my perception always is maybe it's a bit muddy, maybe it's a bit unexpressive, But then you wait a little and you brew the coffee and it's a sweet bomb. And I'm so happy, for that result. I don't know, you want to add something too? Say?
Well, me personally, I love Sidra. It's actually my favorite variety. And ever since my dad did Sea Oxy for the first time, I fell in love completely with the coffee. I feel like it has just these beautiful layers of sweetness and complexity, clementine, blood orange. It's an extremely delicate coffee. And yeah, it's a little bit, in a sense, it's really delicate. In cupping, it behaves this way, and brewing another way. But that's the beautiful thing about brewing coffee as well. You can get multiple different coffees on the same beans, But yeah, I love that coffee. If you like it as well.
Yeah, we do have some. I didn't realize that there were going to be so many of us here today. We have some available for sale today, but you can also order it online later if you guys enjoyed it today. You can also order it online. I don't want to volunteer Pepe and Jose, but if you have, I just found this out, but Pepe actually hurt his wrist a while ago, so he may be open to signing some of the coffees if you guys have other bags that you want to bring to from other roasters. Actually, shout out to our friend Bill from Hydrangea too. He's not here today, but he's also been a great friend for us at Moonwake and with Finca Soledad. So. And just being part of the Bay Area coffee community as well. So, cool. With that, feel free to kind of just hang out. I think if you have any other questions, feel free to come up. If you guys were too shy to ask by yourself, we'll be here kind of just hanging out. And we've got our team brewing coffee on pour over as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask our baristas and our collaborators, Harry and all those guys too. So. Yeah, thank you so much for joining the formal part of the session, and we're just gonna hang out for a little bit then for coffee.
Yeah, big thanks to all you guys for coming out and supporting and hello, yes, yeah, and just for being here. And I'm just gonna yell. Thanks all for coming and just showing your support and wanting to hear how coffee is produced and all the challenges that they face. I think this is a great time, and we'd love to share even more of the coffee with you. So feel free to just come up to the pour-over counter. What we're going to do is just brew a bunch of the Pepe Sea Oxidator and some of the JJ washed, and just put it out in cups for you to grab and to try. Definitely come up and say hi to Pepe and Jose, and share your kind words, share that moment of connection, and let us know if you do want to buy the Pepe Sea Oxidator. I don't know if we'll have it on the front counter or...
We might put it on the front, for folks afterwards.
Yeah, so if you're interested, just come up to the front counter and we can take care of that. While that's happening, we will try to dial in some espresso outside for Sea Oxidator as well. Wish us best of luck. So come outside and try some of that too. But thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Get some caffeine, you guys.
How do I stop this?
I'm gonna leave the projector up. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
I'll put this away for you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you okay?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Good. So glad you were able to come.
Yeah, so I had one. This was our first time ever having this large event.
Say hi. I'm gonna move this.
Well, very excited to be able to share. My son lives in New York. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a great day.
Oh, okay. You want the new one to come out?
Yeah. So I've been in this for 3 years.
Right.
Exploring.
Because what's the best?
And I thought, well,